modern masculinity crisis isn't about toxic men, but untaught men. We've heard toxic masculinity, alpha male culture, and divine masculine everywhere across social media, podcasts, dating culture, and self-development spaces. But in all the noise, an entire generation of men seem to be trying to look like wolves online, but emotionally operating like frightened chihuahuas, more disconnected, shut down, and unsure of who they are. So what actually happened to modern masculinity? Is it possible that figures like Andrew Tate aren't the cause, but a symptom of a culture that shames masculine energy while failing to initiate men into mature masculine leadership? Are men toxic or simply uninitiated? In a world where fathers are absent, rites of passage are gone, and masculinity is either demonized or commercialized, what does healthy masculine power actually look like? Today, I'm joined by Alexander Kenny to unpack what's really going on beneath modern masculinity and whether men are being blamed, broken, or simply never taught how to become men in the first place. Welcome, Alex. Hey, tell the audience a little bit about yourself.
I've come from a family of six. I grew up on the Gold Coast and Brisbane. Grew up surfing, playing soccer, mountain biking, rollerblading, skateboarding, jumping out of trees, climbing on trees, cubby houses. And I am a qualified air conditioning tradesman. And so I'm very familiar with trade sites, construction, and mining as well. And the last 10 years, I've been focused on my upgrading skills, which is like focus on strengths-based leadership development, team building, and conflict resolution. They're my main areas I focus on. Yeah, that's pretty much like my main sort of things. That's my whole background is like very much around men, construction, and yeah, lots of men's workshops in the last 10 years as well. It's like, rite of passage initiations, transformational workshops as well, like learning how to communicate. I was a really bad communicator, leadership training, and all that jazz.
Prepping for today, I kept going back and forth because I found that the topic, we could probably do 10 episodes just on this topic alone. And Alex, that I love men. I adore men. I really, I love to know what makes a man tick. But I also want to know what's happened. Why are they so fucked up these days? Since we've met, these women were standing on the front line, and this was something that was common in the protests and everything. And they're looking around and they're going, "Where the fuck are the men?" You know. And I know for myself at the time, it's the end of the world. Where's my Mr. Apocalypto? I thought I'd actually found my Mr. Apocalypto. I got this guy. I thought he was my Mr. Apocalypto. I thought he was going to be solid as fuck, standing next to me. He's going to be there fighting like I was on the front lines. But instead, what I saw and my perception of it was that he got in a queue, he got on his knees, and he actually did what he was told. And I was like, what the fuck happened? Like what happened to the rage of the masculine? Did the masculine hang up their hat, from being a protector? What did you see? I mean, you're in Queensland. What do you see happened?
If you zoom out and look at the big picture, men's testosterone levels is 50-60% lower than it was 50 years ago. So if you start with that, just start with that one fact. So you have not got the mongrel and the like Doberman or the aggression that we had as a default 50 years ago because of like environments, food, plastics, hormones, electronic stuff. Like there's so many factors like from a biological point of view. So that's that part. And then the other part is like there has been no incentive to like what are we doing this for if we are treated with disrespect or not feeling appreciated, not feeling valued, not having like a sacredness to feeling needed and valued, that is one part of our primal part that, like, well, what am I getting met with that level of respect where I'm going to sacrifice my life? Because if I'm going to fucking sacrifice my life, I need to know that I'm feeling like that level of devotion or needed or whatever. But having low hormones, it's like that's those 2 points. That's not including like how society's set up with, like, the handcuffs of like work and mortgage where, oh, I can't. It's like, well, if you want to keep that lifestyle, yeah, it's not, you can't. But if you just say, fuck this, I'm going to live in a tent. Like, where's that level of commitment of like, oh, fuck this whole game. I'm going to fucking live in a tent. I'm going to fucking fish to protect. Anything that's like, okay, you're going to threaten me like that, then it's going to go to that level. So that willingness to let go of comfort, pleasure, whatever else you want to call it, is so high. And if women reward certain behaviors with sex, then it actually is going to incentivize men to change their behavior. So then if they're not getting that incentive to, like, okay, well, we need you to do that, then where's the incentive stuff for that?
So a lot of the women, they were saying, where the fuck are the men? So you're really saying that as much as we thought, from our perspective, we're screaming to the man, come, protect us, protect us. That's not actually the message that they were getting, being put in a position that made them want to do it.
That's one lens. That shouldn't matter. It shouldn't matter what any women and children are saying. Men should just fucking do what they got to do. So that's the challenge part. Is I honestly believe, because of rite of passages developing potential, putting the right people in the right roles, there was people in the world that were speaking up, but who listened to them? Why are they not in leadership roles? Why are they not in a position of power and authority where people are actually wanting to, oh, that this person says that, then let's do that. Let's back them. Where's that? I don't see any of that shit. I see like a lot of selfish insecurity and destabilizing, like almost dark shadow behaviors between men, and not trusting other men is creating a lot of lack of teamwork, lack of like teamwork straight away, because it's like insecure. If some men are insecure, they can actually like feel threatened by another man's presence, his power, his competency, whatever, and they'll feel lesser of a man. So then why would they support and follow someone they feel so insecure around? If people actually had, like, fathers and mothers and mentors and guides saying, you're really good at this, let's grow and develop you so that you can be around someone else who's absolutely awesome at that, and you're really good at that. So that you're not insecure. You can actually work together as a team. And I just don't see that, like, as a common thing in our culture. It's tall poppy syndrome. Australia's fucking rife with that. It's like, oh, this person's good at this, but let's just cut them down. It's all coming from a place of insecurity and not understanding what their gifts are, their strengths are, their talents are, their genius, their unfair advantage, because no one's fucking told them.
I definitely notice that, and I feel that because, I have seen for myself, I came from a corporate background, and I remember sitting there and actually sitting down with each team member, and I said, all right, where have you come from? Where do you want to go? And I remember one staff member had worked for the company for over a decade, and she said to me, you know what? I've never been asked these questions. And I'm like, how? You've worked here for over a
Yeah.
decade. She goes, no one's asked me, what did I do before I came here, and where do I want to go in the business? I said, well, my job as your supervisor is to find your strengths and to look at where you want to go and go, all right, well, what do I have to do to get you on that path to that part of the career that you want to do? And that really blew me away that this isn't happening. And
Yeah.
you're saying that even now, it's not happening specifically, with men. I had a mixture of men and women in my team, but you're saying that for men, work and purpose, are interconnected in a way. In fact, purpose for a man, from what I've noticed, if he doesn't have purpose, he just doesn't, that's it. There's nothing home. He needs something to aim towards. So when it comes to work, for example, like if he doesn't have that purpose and that drive, what is turning him into what? Just depressed beta males?
Well, yeah, well, you can't fake that confidence stuff. You just can't fake it. And if there's a very big connection between feeling needed and like that can be connected to like inner confidence, like I'm valuable, I'm useful, other men see value in me, other men want to do business with me, so therefore I can get resources, therefore I can like commit in a relationship because I know I can provide. So there's a whole level of confidence that comes with that level of like purpose and provision, that
Mm.
if that's not there, it can men will just collapse in front of a female who will ask, one question to test his character or test how much he can, what does it take to get him off center? If you ask one question, well, fuck, imagine when you're in real life, in the real shit with real stress. If this one question is taking you off, why would I want to procreate with this person or be around them? Like, when shit gets real. So,
I did notice in the dating sphere that there was a lot of men, specifically certain ages, but a lot of men that I've spoken to, I'm like, why are you putting yourself out there? And they're like, well, I'm not financially stable, or I don't have a great job at the moment. And, there was a few things specifically around that. And they were like, well, if I don't have that right, then it's nearly like I don't deserve to have a partner because I can't provide for them. And if I don't feel like that I can provide for them and be the breadwinner and have the castle, then I can't bring in my queen. That's a real king queen sort of thing. And it was huge. Like, I have met so many men where they'll go out in the dating world, but then they blow that shit up because they just don't have that confidence, you know, because they haven't got the money or the home or the car and all those things. Is that something that you've seen when you're working in corporate yourself?
if you look at the dating apps, right, is like rewind like 50, 60 years ago, like the hypergamy part, which is beautiful, it's needed, like,
Yeah.
what's the best male I can get, like will he provide, is he got violent access to violence, has he got intelligence, like there's safety in that, those sort of traits. But then with the apps, right, you've got immediate access to global level competition instantly just by opening a screen. So and what I have heard is that like throughout humanity, only 40% of men have ever procreated, and only 80% of women have ever procreated. There's just no time.
Mm.
If you don't perform, you just die. And if you're supposed to be leading your family, then that's gonna like then the kids have to kick up the stress on the women, like the wives, like so. It's like, do we all need to be in relationships? That's my question. Like, because if that's what
Ooh.
humanity's like coming
Yeah.
through, then
Mm.
that like, should we have everyone procreating, or should we have a certain amount of like traits that always have, and that's me just being pretty like, I'm not a, what do you call those people that like, I'm not a biologist or like,
So what are you seeing when you're out there in regards to, especially because you're interacting with other men's groups, well, I know us women, we all talk about dating. I hear them bitching and whining at every age group. So, what are you hearing on your end? The
oh
dating apps
yeah,
look like a hookup culture. It's like, well, why the fuck not?
yeah,
If you
yeah,
can
yeah.
get away with it, why
Well,
wouldn't you, pump and dump, as they call it?
I listen a lot to what people are saying and what they're not saying, and I'm actually trained in listening. And there's actually some pretty deep like rejection stuff that's happening right now, and I think it's with like a lot of men because they like don't have the flashy car, holiday, lifestyle, top resource level Instagram social media profile. And even I've even heard that there's guys who are like models that are like, the top attractive level guys, and a nice lifestyle. They're like top 0.10% or whatever. Like even they can like swipe, and I think I heard it's like maybe 10 in a day, maybe max. And then you can actually have like a female, say overweight or average on the scale of attractiveness, get like hundreds in a day.
That. Oh, I'll tell you what the reason
The
is.
algorithms.
No. Not at all. It's because when a woman is on the dating app, she's going left, 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 which is no, 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 no. And if she
Yeah.
stops and looks at a guy and she'll go, let's go into his profile, and then she'll look at the photos, nah, or go in, read something, nah. And even if they go
Yeah.
right, when they match with someone, they will then go and do it again. They will look at that profile and they'll double take on it, and then they will turn around and probably say no anyway. Whereas a man is grabbing the phone and they're not even looking at the screen, which is why they had to change. Tinder specifically had to change the way that you use the app, because men would literally be having a conversation with someone else and swiping so they could increase their odds of actually getting a match, right? So the way the men and the women are using the dating apps is very, very, very different. You know, the biggest complaint that I do hear from men is that the women rock up on their dates and they don't look anything like their photographs.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, they're like,
Well,
who is that? So that angle, the camera angle was amazing.
from a male's perspective, before they get to like swipe, 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 I wonder if there's actually like thinking about it, like, okay, yeah, this one, swipe, okay, nothing, okay, and no, 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 okay, this one, swipe, yes, and then it's like, and then for days, nothing, and then they get to that level of resignment of fuck it, I got to throw a net out there. So I'm just
Probably. No,
throwing
I
another
actually
perspective,
agree. Yep. 100%.
like
100% agree.
before it gets like there could be some guys that just do that, and in any group you're always going to get maniacs that are just whatever, just flick it all. But like I definitely think, and you know, I've had chapters of my life where I have been single and I yeah, just fully own it, that just meeting in person, that. So yeah, I'm not fixed on any view on that on apps.
Oh, look, I 100%. I've
But
had a few of my clients that are found their partner, their lifetime partner, and they've had children, you know, from a dating app. So it definitely can work.
yeah,
But I do understand that rejection. You know, like how does it feel for a man to
yeah.
be rejected? Because I don't think us women ever ask you,
Oh,
like, what is it, what's it like?
because one of my strengths is clarity, I'm actually speaking with courage and honesty that most people don't have access to, like being this level honest. And so I'm actually sharing on behalf of a lot of people, a lot of men, is that like the connection between like rejection for men from a female, especially an attractive one that they actually like, oh well, like let's go for this. That it can be, if they don't like develop some deep intestinal fortitude and character building in like different fields of life, if they don't have that, it's going to rock their like, I am reject, my whole bloodline like is being rejected from any sort of procreation ever, and probably through a female lens it's like being invisible, like as in imagine that feeling of like
Wow.
not getting any attention, that level of like primal nervous system, like terror of I'm not
Mm.
getting any attention. That's probably the female version of a male that is getting rejected. So
Okay.
that's my view, and that's only one person's view. But I also think, and I've seen and heard women say this before, that it's actually pretty attractive to see how well a man deals with rejection, where she might say no once, but he's just like not even phased by it. And if he can do that with her, there's an element of like he can aim that into business, into like getting resources and getting like jobs and contracts and opportunities. So it's at the end of the day, it's just some words saying no. And I think that there's an element of like your character gets like exposed, like who you are with that test, that initiation, that rejection, that like challenge of she's saying no, but it might be no for now, or just no, just to see what you're made out of. Like I'm just going to just say no to just see what you do. You know, I'm guessing
Mm.
females do that as well. It's like, and then see if he reacts and goes, "Oh, you bitch," or "you slut." It's like, "Oh, wow." Do you know
Yeah.
what? He's he's self-selected himself versus like
Mm.
maybe like another guy like actually goes and laughs and smiles, like you know, it's like, oh wow, he's got confidence, he can take rejection, wow, what a, that's actually an attractive trait.
Do men understand that, you know, no matter how long you're in a relationship with a woman, that the women, because we want you to be our rock, our solid as fuck rock, right? And that we want to be able
Yeah.
to, at any given moment, lean back and know that that rock is still solid behind us. So we will test you from the moment we meet you to the moment you die, or we're no longer together. Do men understand that that's actually what women are doing? Is that we're making sure, is he still solid? Is he still there? Do they get that?
I don't think so because it's not a normal conversation. But I definitely think that there's something in here around. I don't think men realize our default, how reactive we are, and
Mm,
that's like our training and development and maturity is to be non-reactive. Just the same with I see with females, like they don't realize how disrespectful they can be, and that like there's is almost growth and maturity to like be respectful, because like men think and respect, like as in if I'm disrespectful to another man on a job site or in jail or on the street, he could actually kill me right now. Like if I just like roll my eyes, that is like fighting behavior, like to get attacked because it's disrespectful. So
mm,
I don't think that men, when females test them, I don't think that they realize that it's like how easily you are being reactive. And if you actually take it seriously, it's just sound over her voice box. Women have are like, the kings of emotional words and manipulation can be positive or negative. They're the best at that. So
yeah.
if you are getting rocked off center by some words and you're reactive and take it personally and insecure and like react back, that is like her nervous system's going to be like closed heart, closed body, closed mind. He is actually unsafe, and
Yeah.
so then they're going to like just disengage.
Safe. Now, that word safe, for a woman, that's actually the number one word that I hear is until a woman feels safe, she doesn't want to give herself over to the male, or, be intimate with the male until she feels safe. I've had that conversation even with my own mother, and she's like, well, no, I didn't feel safe with that person. They didn't make me feel safe. And it's interesting. It doesn't matter what age a woman is that is their key word, safety.
Yeah,
I don't.
they don't. There's a whole culture of like men's groups, men's workshops are just gay and weak, and oh, that's just gay, and like that's just the first words that come off my thing, right? And like some of them
Yeah.
are really like more a sharing circle, like where it's like, oh, this is my feelings. It's like you're already in your feelings. Why do you need to expand that? But like the reason I'm bringing up that is that I honestly think there's something in when a man feels like held by other men, or like other men are like silent, non-reactive, not trying to fix them, and they're in like a vulnerable state or in fear or terror or being tested, that or like a heartbreak up or something like hectic, like deeply, shattering, that you can only like meet someone where you've met yourself. So if I haven't
Mm.
been in a space of surrender and actually trusted people and being held in my like deep emotional chaos, which I have in different workshops, and it's helped me like process stuff. So it's not in my system. Then I actually know what it's like when I see someone having a meltdown or someone's like sharing something that's like really vulnerable. Is like, oh, okay, this is the time where I shut the fuck up and I don't try and fix. It's not a work site. It's not a job site. It's not trying to get a contract. Shut the fuck up and just be present. And this is all 100% about that person that you're with and their experience and their emotional wave and whatever they're going through. That it's just nothing to do with you. And if they have never experienced that, how the fuck can they do that with women, children, other men? They just
Yeah.
can't, in my not so humble.
Well, I mean, if we look at what's happening, let's just say Australia, for example, um, the amount of single parenting and fatherless children out there is astronomical. I mean, I know divorce rates are at, 50% should be closer to 70 because people were staying for lots of stupid reasons, in my opinion. However, you've got, I know someone that's got 3 boys to 3 different daddies. Okay. And what I said to that mother was, hang on, you are teaching your sons that it's perfectly okay to get knocked up and the guy walk away, right? This is not healthy. And that was just me just getting to the raw of it, because the mum itself, had been, I will use the words entrapment because it happens a lot. I want to have a baby, you don't get to say it's my body kind of thing, right? So now we've got
Yeah.
all these, men that were warranted, they were pissed off. They don't get a say in it, right? My body, my decision, right? I've heard that flung around a hell of a lot. And, we can have the debate of, well, you should have strapped it up and, watch where your sperm went. However, we end up, the outcome is all these fatherless kids. And that's now becoming the norm. So, you know,
Yeah.
and then you've got these women, we've got all these beta males out there, but they're beta males. Like we're saying, we want men to grow balls. Where are your balls? But these men are being brought up, or boys are being brought up by women. And it's those women are the ones teaching these men. So when you've got a society that is, got all these fathers, children, single moms, no males around, no role models, what the fuck do you do? How do you get it? How do we get society back on track?
What I've noticed as being one of the biggest parts of this like mess that we're in is like not having the mirror neurons of like the to mirror like being responsible, or like being challenged or giving uncomfortable feedback to things to correct behavior. So if it's like, oh, let's talk about it, let's feel about it, and oh, we don't want to discipline because I don't want to hurt his feelings, so you actually, that part is actually not getting the correction and the order of what the masculine energy is supposed to come with. But not just that, it's this other part of like the cost of living, and like the empowered victim energy. Asshole, your father was abusive, your father was a narcissist, your father was shit, he was like, like all these things, da, 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 da. So then a young person is hearing, don't be like that. So there's a part of like turning off any sort of like assertiveness, any sort of like having confidence, any sort of like having boundaries, because it could almost collapse into, well, I don't want to be manipulative. Well, I don't want to be seen as a narcissist. Well, I don't want to hurt her feelings. I better like, be like mummy and like be nice and be polite and everyone's my friend, and, be indirect. I don't want to be direct because I don't want to be assertive. So they're actually disowning masculine energy, masculine traits, turning them off, disengaging them all off. And then they, as growing up as men, and they're like, well, I got to be indirect. I got to be like a cuttlefish, which is in my mating strategy, which is pretend I'm a female, relate to her through spiritual language, divine language, and emotionally connected language, because it's safe, it's still safe, still safe. And then boom, procreate, but then not step the fuck up and like lead and like be responsible, be trustworthy, like that, all the masculine traits, because I haven't seen the mirrors of that. The biggest fucking challenge I'm seeing is like any sort of like listening to a male role model, a male coach, a male guide, a male mentor, because it's like, oh, that my mum told me that's bad, or he's too aggressive, he's too intimidating, and all this bullshit. Instead of going, there's actually clean assertiveness, there's clean confidence, there's clean challenge, there's clean testing. It's not all dysfunctional, it's not all toxic. And then you got the culture thing saying, apologize for being a boy. So then, oh, better turn it off even more, turn it off even more. So then that answers your question, like, why weren't they at the thing, at the rallies with the overreach of the COVID stuff?
Mm-hmm. Wow. Okay. So they're literally, from the second they're being born at the moment, it sounds like that boys, are being taught to be girls. To me, it should always be the best person gets the job, whether it's a male or a female. To me, it's the best person, right? We're going right through school. We've got the being pummeled inside the schools. We're being pummeled by society. We're being pummeled by our single mothers. If you're a single mum, you want to make sure that you've got a male, and preferably a healthy male. What would you, where would you tell me to go and look for a healthy masculine male to be a, a great role model for my son? Where do single mums go?
Character, but I think there's definitely something around like just look at his friends, look at his social circle, look at who he hangs out with. That'll actually show you exactly what sort of character and personality that this man is. And so if they're all just getting high drinking, that is what he's going to be doing in his spare time.
Would
Like
you send your son
so
to maybe a sport, like go to karate or something like
oh
that? Like what do you suggest, boys? Like let's go not for quite yet to the adult drinking, or we'll say 16 plus.
yeah,
Let's
okay.
get before we turn into a teenager. Where should they really be looking?
So I played a lot of sport, and what was really good about that, to answer this question, is that there was any sort of single parent households back then, and so what I have seen and heard over the years is that you can have a father that's a coach there, and that could be the only male role model that this young boy ever has in his whole life. Someone who, mate, you're really good at this, great work, okay, come back next week and work on this. That could be the only thing that keeps him like getting some masculine energy, that's actually wanting to see him win, caring for him, the empathy of like actually wanting to see this child develop some skills and inner confidence. Like sport and martial arts, definitely, because you'll have fathers that are there with their children that really want to like see their child do well. And even just seeing another father like invest time and his presence and his attention into his own children's development, just being around that can be osmosis, like a positive experience. So and I've seen it before, and like when I've played it, is that the other coaches almost like take you on as their children in an energetic field. And when you compete or do a competition, having them, even if your own parents aren't there, like just a kind like word of appreciation, giving praise from someone who's older and masculine, that can change someone's whole mental self-esteem, like straight up. That's a really big one. So I would
Mm.
say those two areas.
All right. And teenage boys going into adulthood, obviously we now got the hormones and testosterone and everything's dropped in. My mum said, as soon as I turned 13, she said it's like the bitch switch came on. And I went from this nice, sweet little girl to the fuck you, and
Yeah.
definitely by the time I was 15, 16, my body was changing, the hormones had dropped in, and shit changed, and that's when I went a little off the rails. So to stop your child from going off the rails, and we want your boy to move into being a man and not being an aggressive young man, how do we tackle that?
Well, I found that if I didn't do sport and I didn't do a trade, I don't know where I'd be, because I reckon like over 50 coaches in my life, like sporting coaches.
Right. Okay.
And like that's a lot of correction. That's a lot of feedback. And that's a lot of like being checked for behavior. And so harnessing like the aggressive animal competitive like wild animalistic part into sport and having a lot of control over that, I think is like key to like not turn it off, because it needs to come out in different areas like intimacy, or like getting through physical activities. So like if there's a flood damage or crisis, like I need to physically move things to save people's lives. Like this is the part where people forget, is like if you turn off all this like masculine fire and like animal aggression and assertive energy, you don't have fulfilling intimacy lifestyle and desire and attraction and all that stuff, as well as the if shit gets real, I need someone to fucking like chainsaw or lift that log off that person or rip that break that window, get them out of the car, or that stuff when it actually matters. So definitely martial arts, sports, and I'll even go as far as encouraging trades, like getting an apprenticeship. Like we've got a couple of the guys that I'm working with at the moment, like a couple of school-based guys that like year 11 coming for a couple of weeks, just on the tools, getting used to like sometimes you just need to shut up and actually just do work. And so that correction of like talking, like, hey mate, we need you to like do this now. And so that when it's coming from a male, it's like, oh, okay, well, I'm noticing that this feminine behavior, it's good to have feminine traits as well integrated, like to be able to communicate, which is some guys that are too far this way. I'm not going to skip that part, but it's almost like a course correction happens when you're around other men. We're always checking each other the whole time. Like someone's late and, oh, good to see you on the afternoon shift, right? So there's like a healthy shame. There's like a backhanded, like, man, what the fuck? We need to be able to trust you. And then you go, oh, I don't want to let them down because I don't want them to publicly shame me again. So I'll turn up early and, do the thing. So that if they're not getting that checking and that feedback and that like backhanded, like energetic masculine, like integration, like controlling that stuff, then I actually believe that that's why we have school shooters and why prisons are full, because these boys don't learn how to control this stuff, and they just go, well, I got to get my attention somehow, and then they just go to violence or flip out just to feel heard. Like there's an African proverb that if we do not initiate the boys, they will burn the village just to feel the warmth. And that would be probably where we're at in society right now.
Wow. Yeah, because I mean, I've spent a lot of time in Africa, and literally, I remember when I was in the Masai Mara, and when the boys become teenagers, they send them off. It's sort of like, I suppose, the Aborigines do the same thing, and they send them off. But in this case, they send them off, and the boys don't come back until they've got that lion tooth. That's part of their initiation, into manhood. And then, then in the tribes, then the men are over here, the women are over here, they do the male role, they do the female role. It's the roles seem to be so fucking blurred right now.
So, like what I've seen, and I've seen it where I hear the words that everything's sweet, like yeah, this is cool, we like this, right? Like yeah, it's great. I hear the ideas, but then I'm interested in like the actual like what the body, the physiological like actually responds to, and this whole like feeling exhausted or feeling like not confident, not like feeling that I'm useful or being utilized in the world. And but then there's so much justification and like, oh no, I can't do this, I can't do that. Like, it's like, okay, well, maybe this is like just a chapter we're in right now that has to happen because of the pendulum going so far this way that it just has to get to a level where people are in pain, to be honest, about what's actually going to work. Because if you look at like, okay, how high the divorce rate is, like 50-60%, right? And then okay, male stay at home, women hunting and being exhausted, nervous system, the health problems. Okay, is there any direct correlation between that, or are we just going to say no, that's just something random? Like because there's no point in me saying my point of view. I'm more interested in what people respond to, like what actually works, like what is not working, and if you go deeper and go more honest, what's actually happening to make this happen.
If a guy has gone into the nurturing, which is more of a feminine trait, is that going to also affect his testosterone levels?
That's a great point. Do you know Dr. John Gray that does Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus?
Yeah.
He talks about that there's behaviors that release testosterone and there's behaviors that release estrogen, which helps the calibration of mental health for men and mental health for women. Like that's just the mind, not including like feeling calm, feeling good, feeling like grounded, feeling like safe, like these feelings connected to hormones. So yeah, but there's definitely something around that. So focus on what someone's strengths are, what's right about them, what's good about them, is some people can have really, really strong relationship building talents where they really are high empathy and really relational and really like get off on being around people and supporting and developing and stuff like that. And then, you know, the female's strengths might be achieving, strategic, competition, like results, effective, the best. You know,
Yeah.
exactly. That's in your top 10, right? You've got the quirky one, individualization. So yeah, it depends on like what works. And so generalizations don't work, as you and I know, with our strengths. We don't really sit into a box either. So but I'm looking at like collectively what's working, not working, and why so many people are breaking up. But I also think that there's not proper vetting and like aligning before you even get any sort of romantic connection. That's a huge one.
The vetting process, you know, or discernment is the word that I use. But I love vetting, you know, 100%. I'm not seeing people vet people, number one. And number two, I'm not seeing people that get finish a relationship, however it finishes, and actually integrating. They're not integrating what happened or what the lessons were. And
Mm.
so they're just playing a game of rinse and repeat. And they sit in pure fucking denial, by the way. When you sit and talk to them, you're like, well, hang on a minute. You know, um, that's the same shit, different smell. No, no, no. It was
Yeah.
different. It was a different guy, different situation. It's like, no, no, no. Take the emotion out, take all the dressing off, and it is the same fucking lesson. And you just did it again. And then you did it again and you did it because you're not even taking time to integrate or even step out of the relationship and out of the emotional part of it, right? And actually looking in and going, what the fuck just happened? You know, how do I learn and integrate from that? So then I've got better discernment. So then I got better vetting next time. So I can actually step up. Because I always say, we had this conversation this week, and I said, you know, relationships are a mirror, right? You can only meet someone where you're at. Like, um, what are you bringing to the table? Because you're fucking none of that, none of it, nothing,
Yeah.
nada. You need to be the person that, you know, the version of the person that you want to call in. Right, you're right. There is no fucking vetting these days, and then people, you know, sit there boohooing into their fucking, you know, milk, going, "Oh, this has happened." Women look at men as a fucking project, a project to fix and fucking change, which is masculine. It's a masculine trait. It's a masculine energy. So I'm finding with relationships that, you know, these women, they're going out there and they're looking for men to fix and to change. I mean, how does that feel as a man if you meet a woman and that's all she wants to do is fix you?
If they know their worth before that, or thinking that I'm only useful once I've fixed them, or I'm only useful and worthy once I've done something of value, which is, it's not, it doesn't need to be like that. So like I just, yeah, I'm pretty non-receptive to being told what to do. So that doesn't work. Yeah, it
I
does
can
not work.
imagine, you know, someone try and do that to you and you just tell them to fuck right off. There's a door. Don't let it kick in the ass on the way out. It's a revolving door. Bye, Felicia.
But I'll still listen to the thing for feedback to see if it is a way I can be better. So like my strategic as
Mm,
well. So open
mm.
to hearing it. Like, okay, is there something I can tweak here? Yes or no. Like if I want that, I'll get a coach. I'll get like, you know, go to a workshop or a course. But I don't want to be having that all the time.
Like a lot of men, they just don't want to date anymore. You know, is it because women are trying to fix them, or is it because, you know, we now have, especially in Australia, these, you know, cohabitation laws that basically, you know, you
Oh
move
yeah.
into someone's house and fucking 6 months later, you know, we're going to ask ream you and take half of what you got, you know, or attempt to go for what you own. Like, Is that what's going on? Is that why the dating is just so fucking bad?
There's so many things to this. Imagine if you went to buy a car and you are the only person that used the car.
Mm-hmm.
And then versus like, okay, it's been test driven and driven like it's been stolen by 30, 50, hundreds of people have like driven this car like they've stolen it. And then it's like, that can have an effect, like a
I love the
pretty big fucking
analogy.
effect.
Yes. True.
Like,
True.
so even as a woman, which car would you get? Like, that's the chapter of life you're in right now. Like, you're like steady and like luxury, like speed, like let's have something nice. Like, that's the chapter of life you're in now. So
Yeah.
imagine when you're 16, for example,
Yeah.
16,
Yeah.
18, and then you're like, oh, I could jump on a train. That's very stable, right? But it's fucking boring. It's going like through metal, through towns, through the city. It's boring. It's too stable. It's fucking boring.
That was my first marriage. Sorry. Bless him if he ever hears this. I would
But
marry
rock
him
solid.
again. But at that stage, I was into drugs and shit. So I needed some boring, but I couldn't stay because it was too boring. So I get that. I get what you're saying. That makes sense to me. That was
See,
like, boom. Yeah.
yeah, so the other part, this is from a male's point of view, is like how men like get like status or value in the world is they have to be reliable, competent, useful, good at what they do. Like, other men want to like feel good around you. They want to trust you with money, with finances, with their reputation. Like, there's a lot of like things to get through that takes time, and that can be fucking boring because it's so stable in regards to like, you can't be like being loose and off the hinges because your reputation, other people's reputation, professionalism has to be tight. It has to be like how you present yourself, how you speak. There's so many things that have to be tight, and what you do in your personal life, you can't be too loose because it'll impact your professional, if the media, all that stuff.
Mm,
So it
mm,
the confusion, I see the confusion is like, I want to have provision but don't be boring. And
mm,
that's the part that is like, well, men are like trying to do this and they might be good and effective with all the money stuff, but they're fucking boring as shit. And there's other guys who are like exciting and all that stuff that aren't like stable with like the ability to provide with resources. So it's almost like men do like that or that, and these ones seem to get a bit
mm,
more of the female attention, because but then also these ones can in their own way. But I think that the journey for like development for men is to have range, is to have access
mm.
to stability, but still be exciting and like, express these different parts of yourself, so that your female partner in masculine feminine relating can actually be like, well, I can express this part of myself because he's got range to hold that. Whereas if I express
Mm.
this part and he's like, what the hell are you doing? This is irrational. It's like, oh my God, I can't be myself around him. How fucking boring.
I've always said I loved men because I thought they were simple, which they are in comparison to women. I mean, women are just batshit fucking crazy. I mean, as soon as you men, work out the rules, we change goddamn rules because that's our right to change the rules. And understanding men easier than understanding women. However, in saying that from this conversation, I'm really feeling that society and its expectations of the masculine and to be a man in
Yeah.
today's society. I'm not talking, I mean, it's changed over history, but I'm talking right fucking now, right? It's complicated. It's not just complicated, it's confusing. I'm confused on, and if I'm confused and I'm the woman, what the fuck do men feel?
Well, so you imagine this, like, you need to be able to provide. You need to be able to be emotionally available. You need to be able to communicate your feelings. You need to be able to take me on a holiday. You need to be able to make me laugh. You need to be able to be in shape. You need to have good friends. You need to make me feel safe. You need to know my love language. You need to be able to have resources and options for us for investments and stability and say, like, that is a lot. And then having like rest and recharge time of like silence and nothing box to integrate, process, de-stress. and like, what the fuck are you doing? You're lazy. Why aren't you doing something? Because they're scrolling like, okay, well, what? This guy's taking his missus over to the Greek islands. What the fuck? He's doing nothing. This guy's got his missus a new car, and no one said that how much debt he's in to get that, and it's actually just a show. And then like, you're fucking doing nothing. So there's actually immediate like comparison from here to here all the time, and for other people that have like had access to them the whole time. So it is almost demoralizing to from that lens. There's only one lens. There can be so many other lenses, but there's so many expectations that are being measured with. Well, that's what he can do. Then you can do that. If he can do this, he can do that too. So what about you? What like so that instant comparison. It's there's it's no wonder so many guys are checking out because they're being compared to the top 0.001% in every single field immediately in their own living room with their wife who, if they don't realize how disrespectful they can be with their words, and if they're not looking for, well, he does do this, I appreciate that, I respect and admire this part of him, then you're actually dismantling the confidence of his who he is as his man and stuff like that. So the other thing in that is that not everyone has like a competitive, ambitious, like hungry for results psychology. So you can imagine how much that would be like overwhelming or depressing to be compared against people when you're not competitive. So then there's so many things on that from technology that can really impact that.
I call them midlife meltdowns. They tended to average in men between the ages of 35 and 45. And, these are the men that thought, by the time I reached this age, I would have had this much money. I would have had this, got to this stage in my career and it hasn't happened, right? Then they'd have a complete fucking meltdown. And then at the same time, I'm remembering a friend of mine who in 1 year, I don't even think it was 1 year, it was less than that. He had 36 or something male friends suicide in 1 year,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And he's a similar age to me. And I just sit there and I go, oh my God, that pressure. From what I've witnessed and experienced firsthand is that, men tend to either go into the dark pits of hell for up to 2 years and then come out and see the light, or they go in, they stay in. And that can either just be their whole life is just shit from then on, and they're just permanently depressed, or they tap out. They're like, I'm done, right? So
Yeah.
for men that, are in that state, which is, I mean, for someone who suffered from depression myself, and I call it the deep, dark pits of hell, and I feel like I'm in a massive, big pit and it's just dirt and I'm scratching at the walls trying to get out and everything's dark. That's the best way I can describe it. And it feels like it crawls up my back and over the front of my face and just engulfs me. Um, and it's fucking horrible. What advice could you give the woman that is with the man?
Well, from my own personal journey, like I played like soccer internationally, and was getting paid money for that, and like that was pretty much my identity from 5 years old to like in my early 20s. So I had to deal with an identity death that I was going to be a professional athlete, and that I got an eye injury, different things. So my thing was like an identity death, which I think is probably what a lot of men can relate to, is like their identity in business or sport or a relationship. It's very much into who they are. So I think the first thing is to find other people who have been through it to actually like just be honest. The more honest you are, the faster it's going to happen. If you more shit the more you're in denial, it's going to slow it down. So the more pain, the more you're honest, and just being around people that can normalize, like, oh yeah, you're at this part. So it's like, oh shit, so there's actually a way out. Like, yeah, there's a few more parts. And I think that it's definitely like, that's what some pretty powerful men's workshops, organizations like Real Man Education, Mankind Project are two that I can recommend that are like
Mm-hmm.
pretty good at helping that level of like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm at it like a point in my life where it's either something has to change positively or it's going to be bad. So having people around that can support and even articulate what is going on for you, that is can be a game changer, because it can be like, oh, it's just me, I'm the only person on the highlight reels, everyone's positive, everyone's got it together, everyone's, it's like,
Mm-hmm.
fuck, I'm the only person like that, you know. And
Mm-hmm.
so to actually go, okay, people like normalizing what I'm experiencing, that can be a burden off. You know, if there's a lot of emotion that you've held on to around other men, that's actually pretty healing to actually let that out with men. And I see like
Mm-hmm.
men's workshops as a pit stop. Like a Formula One pulls into the pit stop, 1.82 seconds is the world record, and then goes. Changes its oil, tires, with steering wheel, whatever. But the thing is that don't do the pit stop stuff in front of women and children, because you're supposed to be the rock, like, and actually hold it together and race when you're there. But when you go into a pit stop, then just fully just go into it and then get back on the track. So this whole thing that
Mm-hmm.
it's weak, yeah, if you stay in the pit stop, but who wants to stay in the pit stop? Like, it's
Yeah.
some people do, like in that are always at workshops. You've probably seen them at Tony Robbins and stuff, like they're always there, like, you know, workshop, workshop, workshop,
Yeah.
and they're not
Yeah.
doing
Blah,
anything.
blah,
So
blah.
that's that's the distinction, is to get out of, to go, okay, even if Formula One does, even when things are going okay, most men wait for the engine to seize, like, oh, and they're like pushing it in. But if they can take inspiration from this conversation, like change comes from inspiration or a lot of pain, just take it as inspiration to do those things, or wait until it's really bad and then, you know, go in then. But there's
And for the
definitely places out there.
partners, what
Um,
would you recommend for
well,
the
this is
partners of someone that's struggling, a man that's struggling? How should we approach it? Instead of going, what the fuck is wrong with you? Get your shit together. I mean, hey, guilty as charged. I was like, all right, you've had your 24 hours to, have your little trauma pity party, chop, get your show on the road, because I've got to get my show on the road too. And fuck me, in hindsight, I look at that horrified, like horrified, that because I also saw that behavior from me is I gave him that 24 hours of the feminine and the nurturing and all that, and then I went boom into the masculine energy, and I witnessed that and gone, oh, what a fuck up. Like, it was just the fucking, yeah, the beginning of the end. Let me just put it that way.
yeah,
How
because
could women do it better?
that's that's your speed. That's how fast you process. And you've got the achiever, which is stamina, like fast result, result, tick, 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 tick. It's high stamina, high results. So you don't need as much time. That's you. If you can
Mm,
understand the blueprints of the psychology of what you're dealing with, of how they process emotions through different profiles and charts, then you can actually go, okay, this is what this person needs. And just encouragement for, like, I don't think people realize, I think if women could understand this and men to understand their own version, how much appreciation for a simple thing, showing respect or admiration just for anything, just a simple task. Thank you for taking the bin out. Thank you for,
mm,
holding space for me. Thank you for, holding me a bit before. Thank you for your presence just tonight, or for example, these things, right? The complacency can kick in because we're not in war. We're not in war times. So why is
mm,
there appreciation when I've got access to everyone, everything? Why would I appreciate this? It's just another person, you know? So that's
mm,
pretty easy. But yeah, I definitely think if you can understand your strength psychology and human design charts, like to start with your energy and your psychology, then okay, how can I nurture an environment? How he's going to get out of it is through his strengths, how he thinks, feels, and acts. Your strategy, and you're like, okay, I want things to be more effective. Like, how do I be more effective? How can I help him be more effective? Even that question is a very strategic, effective question. And then when you go, okay, yeah, we can use this more, have a conversation that is his blueprint, my blueprint, and integrate it to be more effective. And see, you're smiling, you're nodding right now, right? So that is, you're getting an energizer of how to be more
mm,
effective. That
mm,
feeling you're having right now, imagine that in whatever his psychology is, in whatever his, like, I want to feel like I'm winning. So a small win is readjusting my focus to something so I can focus and win over here. Oh, that's a good feeling for me in that one sentence.
Yeah, because I was surprised, I sort of went, all right, okay, yes, we've organised this. Yes, okay, here's the accommodation. And I screenshot it and I went, here's the booking reference, and I sent it. And the response was, appreciation. It was thank you for sending that to me, and I was like, oh, and then for me, I'd be like, yeah, whatever, but then I had to look at it and go, oh, that actually is, that affects him and that works for him. So that was actually a good decision to do it. For
Yes.
me, I'm like, yeah, 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 but we're different, in that way. And so, yeah, I find that I think my mum used to say something about, I don't know, like, you get a bird to eat better with crumbs or something, it's not just crumbs, but like it's the way that you do things, it's the way that you approach things. They always say treat people how you want to be treated, and if there's anything I've learned through human design,
I
that's
disagree.
so fucking wrong. It is. Yeah, see, we're
Yeah.
both in agreement
Yeah.
there. It's like, no, treat people how they want to be treated. What is their strength, what is their design, and treat them appropriately, not how I want to be treated. And I think that's what a lot of people are doing, whether that's in work, in friendships,
Is
in
every day.
love. Yeah, it's really
Exactly.
messes shit up, doesn't it?
100%. And so, like, that's a whole conversation, like how we unconsciously treat people how we want to be treated. It's actually like if I treated you how I treat myself, you would be like, you're actually pretty mean. Like, because I'm pretty hard on myself. And so,
Same.
you know, like that's, you have competition, I've got competition, like we always focus on the best way to do something. Okay, what's the
Yes.
competition doing? Okay, what are they not doing? Okay, let's do that. Let's just dial into that. And everyone else is just like, that's really aggressive, that's a bit over the top. Like, no, I'm like, what's strategically the best way to do it? Let's go. All focus, high force, energy, achiever, let's go. So other
100% get
people are
it.
like, I want to, other people with high relationship building, like, I want to feel connected, I want to feel like included, I want to feel a part of the brainstorming. Like, that's how they operate. So you treat and relate them how they are.
If there's anything that I noticed, because I know with what I do, I've got the basic human design, relationship human design, business human design. And when you know what it is, then you can change your entire world. And when it comes to business, like for you and what you're doing, if someone is actually getting that information, they can accelerate their life, they can accelerate their income, they can accelerate their love, they can accelerate their career. I mean, it's very powerful. I mean, how do you find when you go into a corporate
Yeah.
business? So I know you've worked with some big names in Australia. So when you've gone and you've done that and you've been brought in to sort of work with the teams, how does it look? Explain it to me, because the majority of the time you would have men that you're working with in these companies, correct?
Well, they still have DEI hires in leadership as well. Like they
Okay.
did have that, like as in females in leadership, and there was actual conflict with that. Like, is this person as experienced and competent as other people? So that actually creates a lot of conflict just by just doing that.
Yeah.
And so I was like mentoring and guiding like some of these female leaders and male leaders and people's egos, like with like the sensitivity of like someone who's less experienced, less competent is in a role that I think I should be in. But the political DEI stuff is like, no, no, well, I'm in this role because we need to balance it out and be equal. So I was like
Mm,
actually helping people with that. It's highly sensitive confidential conversations around their ego management, and also like, okay, we'll work together, this is how you can work with their strengths, with, okay, this is just where we are now, just work together, for the future. So I
mm.
guess I'm not sure what the question is, but it's like
Well,
starting with what's right
yeah.
about people.
Yep.
What was the question,
Yep.
sorry?
No, that it was, like when you go into the companies, like how does it operate? What do you do? Do you end up working out? that people need to be in a different role, because I find I tend to get that a lot when I'm going in. I look at everyone and go, well, you're actually your strengths. These are your strengths. You're actually in the wrong role. You need to be in marketing. You need to be in sales. You need to be behind the scenes. And then we shift people around and it actually works much smoother. So for me, I can actually very quickly see the pattern of someone's in the wrong role. But with you, you're going, and you're adding another layer to that where it's like more individualization, going, all right, well, let's look at what are your top 5 to 10 strengths. So, how would you
Yeah.
walk into a company and I'm one of your, one of the employees, how would you deal with me?
Well, the first thing, well, you'd be fun to handle, but like basically the first thing would be starting with the top leader, because it's always at the top. The culture always goes down, and if someone on this level is like, to fund the workshops, development, the one on ones, and they're not on board, then it's a bit challenging. So it has to be at the top. So as soon as they get an experience like the strength session and go, wow, okay, I understand that, it's like, okay, well, your team here, like, once let's just get all their profiles and then sit down with you as the leader or the team leader and go, okay, what's your challenges with this person? And they go, oh, why do they keep doing this? Well, of course they're going to do that because of blah 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 blah. And then and then when they do that, do you do that? And like, oh yeah, like of course you're going to do that. So and then when they do this, you do that. Like, yeah, of course. So then I just basically just flesh it all out and go, this is the best way for you and your leadership development to actually get the best out of this person in this role. And then, get into one-on-one, no, two-on-one meetings where you get both profiles up and go, okay, this is the differences. This is where the conflict's going to be by default. This is the tweaking conversation to get the cogs firing like a Formula One pit stop team. That's my ultimate, is to get people to that level. And basically, like, depends how much how much depth they want us to go. Usually, like one-on-ones each week with the leaders, and then team workshops, and mapping exactly what is going on, and actually people being seen and heard in their natural talents. And then go, when you have some problems, Bob over here's got restorative number one. He loves problems. So, Penny over there with your positivities, you hate talking about problems. She goes, I hate problems. So sorry, when you get a problem, speak to Bob and he'll love it. And he's just nodding like, yeah, give me more problems. So straight away, they've got a way of like, her role and task is now easier. And he's like Pac-Man. He needs problems, or he'll just start creating problems or finding problems or making problems or thinking problems
Mm,
about himself and problems with, all that stuff. So it's just aiming everyone with where they're naturally going to go. But I really love your part of like putting the right people in the right roles, and that, because I didn't get to have that much influence of different roles. It's like, this is what the roles are. What are our strengths now? So that's
mm,
more like you'd probably be going in first with coordinating that. And then I could like back, yeah, this person is not suited for this.
mm.
How can we, give them tasks that suit their strengths in this role? That's another
Mm.
layer of like, we can't change their roles. It's like, okay, well, is there any tasks like this that we can give them to other people that hate these tasks? Give them those
Yeah,
tasks. Can
yeah,
we swap tasks around as well?
yeah, totally. I mean, I've found that, when I've come in and I've had a look at businesses, and it's like, all right. And sometimes we've had to let people go and hire the right people in the job. In fact, I literally had this conversation today, and it was like, hey, I rang up for an appointment. I was very clear. You can go back and you can listen to the recordings, because I know that my phone call was recorded, and it was like, I asked for this, and this, and actually the staff member booked me in with the wrong person for starters. And they were like, oh no, we're going to do it this way. And I was like, that's not what I asked for. I'm not interested in that. I want this and I want this with this person. And so they had to get it all fixed. And then I'm like, all right, so how are you going with your staff here? And the facial expression, because they knew just that I'd not been dealt with correctly. And I said, I can tell straight away that your sales are down. Am I right? Yes. You know, do you realize that you probably have the wrong people doing the sales roles? that's not what they're good at. They would be better at having an empathetic role, maybe, and coming and doing this kind of role within the business. And sometimes, we've literally stripped out the business, or I go, is this business still viable? It is about getting the right people in the right jobs. But then if you don't understand you, it's sort of like, a lot of people a lot of
Yeah,
women specifically, they go to a medium or a tarot reader, or even to me, and they go, I want a relationship reading, and they're not wanting one for themselves, they want it for their partner. And I'm like, but if you don't understand yourself first, like, you need to understand how you tick, what makes you tick, and what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are. Do your SWOT analysis, and then you can look outside of your partner, but you're actually looking outside of your partner. So I can really see how understanding your
yes,
strengths, yes, I
yes,
can be brutal, but I can also get shit done and be reliable and be loyal and all the rest of it, and I can be a little kitten that purrs, behind closed doors.
exactly,
I could be quite a different
exactly.
Mel.
Because I've got on this conversation, I've got another mate, and he started an international company, and he about 25 years ago, and he used and still does today just the Enneagram, so the psycho
Yes.
spiritual personality profiling tool, which is the
Yes.
core why, like why someone does that of the 9 types, and he has all the helpers on the support platoon, all the type sixes with the finances. So that's what he used. And I actually do find out someone's Enneagram as well and actually bring that into my strengths conversation. And I love
Yeah.
getting like a really basic look at their human design. And then that's why I
Yeah.
like feeding them to you with the deeper ones is the way to go.
Mhm. Well, I think like integrating, I like to integrate a few different tools together, even though a lot of the other seismometric testing is using the mind. And I don't use the mind. I don't give a shit about your mind, to be honest with you, because depending on where you're at in that stage of life, it's going to change. I could do the disc profile today, do a whole bunch of, courses and studying, and then do it again, and it's going to be different, whereas mine's really not going to change when I do a human design one. But bringing them together and bringing a bunch of tools together, I find works really, really well. Instead of it being, very narrow minded, narrow focus, I like to see it coming in from different angles, and then just cut through the shit and get straight to where we want to go. So
Exactly. That's just strategic and achiever. And I have that as well. It's like I want to cut through to get to the best result. Like that's you
yeah.
and I both have that, which is
Yeah.
like people that don't have that need us on their team to go, what's the most effective way to get results that's the best? And that's just 3 of our top 10 that we both have, as well as
Yeah.
we both have individualization, which is like, I'm going to customize it to speak to you and what your values are, what your needs are, what you want, so that you get this. So it's very customized that you and I both have with that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not here to stroke anyone's ego. I'm like, you're paying me good money. Why do you want me to do that? Don't you want to cut through the shit and, get a great outcome? Like, to me, that's how my brain thinks for things. So, yeah, it's
Exactly.
oh, look, we could keep going, keep going. I mean, trust me, there's much more on here that we could talk about when it comes to masculinity. There's just so much. So I want to sort of finish out here talking about, if you were going to give a couple of tips to men today to walk away with, to make them feel like men, no, not like boys, to be able to get them to stand up taller, what would you do? What tips would you give men today of what they should do? It could be little things, but things that they could do to help with maybe the inner rage, how to get the inner rage out in a more healthy manner where it's not affecting other people, how to improve their career. Like, what would be some tips?
Yeah, sport, martial arts, like gym. Definitely just the physical part, but even just yelling in the car, like just getting rid of the anger in a contained space so it doesn't bleed onto other people. Like I actually have to do that
I do
often
that.
because
I do
there's
it.
a lot of energy comes through me, and if I don't like shift that before I walk into a building, people can feel that I'm angry. So that's the first one. But I would say one thing with in regards to like a masculine like a little activity to integrate and upgrade a bit is actually just ask other men for their feedback on what they see their weaknesses and strengths and just tell them straight to your face. And the challenge is to not react, to not defend, to not explain, to not attack, to actually fucking take it on the chin and just let it fucking hit. Like just let it hit and don't escape that discomfort.
Ugh, I love that. I love all of that. By the way, I scream in the car, yeah. I do it quite frequently. I go for a drive and and
Yeah.
I'll do it until there's nothing left. So I totally understand what you're saying, and I agree with you. I think that that's awesome advice. Okay, I will be putting some information if any of you have any more questions that you'd like to ask Alex. Thank you so much for joining me today. I think we need to do quite a few more on these. I'm sure people will send me some emails with specific topics that they'd like you to talk about. But thank you very much for joining us today. Alex, it's been an absolute honor. I love having these banter conversations back and forth. It is good. And trust me, everyone, if you think that this man doesn't pull me up on my shit, he does, and I love him for it. Thank you for being in my apocalypto group, because I think that's important to find your apocalypto group. And if you don't have anyone, someone, go and find them. Go and find the people that you know that would be there as your solid rock and would kill for you. That's what I like. Bring on the masculine is all I can say. Bye from us.